Welcome to this week's Tech Show, where we've got
a new e-bike from Scott.
We've got a new Kotick Solaris.
A very radical bike from Sun.
Transition have got more youth bikes.
And we ask you if your next bike will be carbon or not. Okay, Owen, for some people, there's no question. They're always going to go for alloy. Maybe they prefer it, but a lot of the times it's because it's a bit more affordable than carbon. I think, that's no secret in the industry. A carbon frame of the same spec can be about £1,000 more than an alloy, and that makes a big difference. Not everyone can afford that. But aside from cost issues and sort of cost of living crisis at the moment, I wanted to debate whether, money aside, whether we are actually moving towards alloy as a trend, because you can't deny carbon has kind of been the big trend and the big thing for many years now,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. Yeah, it feels like there's been a lot of drive of all the cutting edge stuff has been in carbon, but quite a few brands have lent into going, well, actually, what can we do in alloy? And it feels like there's quite a few.
Yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of brands that have been almost exclusively carbon. I mean, look at, Pivot, Deviate, Ibis almost exclusively, Santa Cruz almost exclusively. And it feels like that is the premium material and the premium brands are choosing it. So in our minds, carbon is the premium. But there are some people out there, some brands out there that are trying to make alloy or metal premium again. So there's a couple of things here. Obviously, advancements in CNC machining has helped because we've seen the likes of 5Dev, Ingrid as well, two component companies there really pushing CNC machined alloy or titanium sometimes components. And of course, 3D printing has been huge lately. That is a massive step forward that the likes of Athertons, for example, have been using and bringing out an alloy bike that is suddenly, it's premium now.
Yeah, it is,
It's up there competing with carbon.
Yeah.
What do you say about that?
Well, I think it's really interesting. It's really good to see a kind of like revival of metal because there's lots of attributes of sort of like aluminium alloys that are really good on mountain bikes. They are quite already sort of impact resistant, especially on sort of down tubes and loading areas. There are benefits to it. So I guess as we've also kind of moved to being from super weight weenie, where we've really worried about kind of weight all the time, realising actually ride characteristics, and if we're riding a longer travel bike, okay, it might weigh a little bit more, but actually having some sort of robustness, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah, and I wonder if this sort of move towards premium alloy has kind of helped the rest of the industry realise that actually people don't just want carbon all the time. So we've seen the likes of Specialized been bringing out, alloy versions of the Stump Jumper, which I've heard is quite popular, or at least a popular, move for Specialized. And then I noticed that the Chisel, which has always been a hardtail, is now a full suspension. So that is a XC bike. Now, alloy and XC certainly isn't something we talk about a lot because we're always talking about performance, lightweight bikes when it comes to XC, certainly in the racing terms. Yeah. I personally used to ride on an alloy bike, so I'm not not completely opposed to it, but I do think the industry thinks an XC bike has to be carbon because it's all about performance.
Agreed. I think if you're racing sort of at a top level and you're looking for every performance gain, then there is a weight advantage of having a lighter bike, and carbon can be easy to do that. But there's still people who want to race who might want something that's actually affordable. So Orbea also do their Alma, which is their cross-country hardtail. They do that in aluminium, but that's actually super light too. It's 1,600 gram frame weight, which is really impressive. That's an alloy frame.
That is.
And it's not wildly expensive. Okay, it is a cross-country bike, and if you're looking to race, weight is an issue, but if you're looking at price point as well, why not? Yeah.
The Chisel Full Sus, I mean, that is £2,000, a bit more premium, but you are getting that, you kind of expect that from Specialized. But to put it into context, their carbon equivalent of a similar spec is $4,250. You're paying almost an extra $2,000 to have that premium of carbon there.
Yeah, I mean, there is kind of a slight weight difference. I think it's just over a kilo, but I guess you've got to be honest with yourself and sort of go, am I in all the best shape, or will I miss a kilo? Will I miss effectively like 2 small 500ml bottles or not? It is a factor, but price is
maybe
on
you could just have someone in the pits handing you a less filled bottle every
Yeah,
lap.
maybe, yeah.
And then you'll save yourself £2,000.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's also, so we're talking about alloy in a space where carbon does have performance benefits, but I feel like on the kind of like trail riding and in the kind of free ride space, there's more and more potential for bikes that are slightly more mass challenged, should we say, that still work, and it's still a good proposition. I guess Commensal famously, they're not making any carbon bikes; all of theirs are alloy.
And they still managed to command a premium price tag.
Yeah,
as
they
well.
are. Trek's World Championship winning DH bike is aluminium. And then you've got the likes of kind of Nico Mullally, who's racing on custom frameworks bikes, which originally were steel. Now they're running kind of aluminium front ends and other bits. So it's like there is performance gains to be had in the gravity space as well. So it's interesting.
I wonder if it's that it's such a small minutiae of the racing world. So you've mentioned like 4 kind of bikes there, or teams effectively, who are using alloy, but the majority of the rest are carbon. So that's kind of trickling down in the people think, well, the athletes are racing on that, so maybe that is the best and I want the best. But if we could get more athletes racing on more metal, then maybe that perception will change a bit more.
Yeah, it's interesting. Really interesting.
Should we ask the viewers then?
Yeah, definitely.
Guys, what do you think? I think a lot of our viewers already love the metal anyway. But if you are a carbon fan, what would change your mind and make you go for alloy instead of carbon? Let us know down in the comments below.
Might have noticed we're in a new set. And in that new set, Move, we discovered that we'd got more of these signed copies than we thought we had, which is great because it means you can buy an awesome signed copy of the wonderful Essential Mountain Bike Maintenance book, which we've got here, and it's signed, so it's even more valuable than normal. But yeah, it's got everything you need if you're a beginner or if you're an experienced rider and you're wanting to look to improve your maintenance skills. So yeah, head over to the shop and get one now.
Yeah, and if you don't like reading, actually, there's loads of QR codes in here which will link you to our YouTube channel, which is nice and easy, I think. So Scott have released a new Patreon e-ride, so that's their EMTB, and they've now effectively got 2 new models. So it's a 150mm rear suspension EMTB, which can now be paired with a 150 front fork, or you can have it as the ST model, which sounds like the short travel model, but it's actually the long travel model, which is paired with a 170mm fork. Now, the models can come with carbon or alloy, and as you can see, there's a new shock position, which they say helps with weight distribution, and it's going to be paired with that new Bosch Performance CX drive unit, which is with a big 800 watt-hour battery, and it's a removable battery too, which I'm a big fan of when it comes to storing a bike and convenience of recharging it. What's really interesting is the integrated rear lights. How are you feeling about this?
Well, it's illuminating, yeah.
Very good. And the head angle, now it will be different on the different models. So it would be slightly slacker on the ST model at 64.9 degrees, but each of them will come with adjustable head angles as well. And the pricing will start from £5,499 English pounds.
It goes all the way up to a wild 10,000.
I think they all do though, don't they? We're used to that number now.
Yeah, I know, it's just big.
Speaking of big.
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to tell us about a fat bike?
Salsa, we kind of missed it earlier in the year, but kind of end of summer feels like a bad time to talk about fat bikes.
Yeah.
Whatever hemisphere you're in. But they've got 2 new versions of their kind of most popular models. So they've got Bear Grease, which is their groomed trail race bike, okay, fat bike, and it's designed to take a 275 by 4.5, but you can put 26-inch fat bike wheels in there too. And it's full carbon fork. Geometry is not that far off a regular XC bike. You've got 5 sizes. 68.5 degree head angle, 73 seat angle, which is relatively slack, but I think that's to help balance your weight around, which you need to do more on a fat bike. So pricing starts quite well at $2,899 US for a Q's build, and then goes up to just over 7. And then the heyday is, well, it was formerly by a different name, but it's been rebranded as the Heyday. It's an all-rounder. Interestingly, they say it's an all-rounder, but the head angle is a bit steeper, so it's a bit confusing, but it's meant for bike packing on your fat bike and all-round rather than just racing. You've got aluminium and you've got carbon options, and it's all built around a 26-inch wheel size. So yeah, a little bit different. Pricing for the alloy starts at €1,699 with a Q's build, and then you've got a carbon one with Dior that goes up to 3,300 roughly. Let us know your thoughts on fat bikes. Do you want to see more of them? Do you ride them in the winter? Let us know.
So speaking of metal, as we were talking about metal in the topic, Kotick, who are obviously a big fan of steel, have upgraded or updated their Solaris. So this is their steel hardtail, and it's a cross-country-ish steel hardtail. So you can now pair it with 100 to 130 mil forks. It is a 29er. It's got the lovely clean lines of steel, that nice classic diamond shape, which you can have in a gloss ember or a gloss forest. And we're looking at a new head angle of 66 degrees and a seat angle of 75 degrees. It's coming in 5 sizes, but now tyre clearance is up to 2.5, so bringing it up to a nice sort of modern finish and spec with that UDH as well, if you wanted wireless on your steel frame. If not, it's externally cable routed, which I know you're a big fan of, and I don't mind either. And you're looking at a Reynolds 853 tubing there, and frame only is $1,199, or you can start the builds from $2,399.
Sun Radical. It's a name that probably conjures up some real classic mid-90s, late 90s bikes and visions for people. Well, they're back. Okay, Sun have had a bit of a rocky story where they kind of were really popular, melted away, came back, and I feel like this is the second comeback. But essentially what they've done is relaunch the Radical, which was a really iconic DH bike developed by Oliver Bossard and raced by Nico Voulios and Caroline Chasson and Gracia and loads of really fast racers. They've redeveloped it with a similar suspension setup. So you've got a 4-bar high pivot setup, but it's now an enduro bike. So it's 160 on the rear, high pivot, 4-bar suspension system, all carbon now as well, with modern geo, they're saying, so 64-degree head angle, 77.5 seat angle, so very steep, relatively short chainstay, rear centre rather, not chainstay, because it changes, so 445, the rear centre. 3 models, build starting from a RockShox, mostly Shimano Dior for €4,032. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think they look really good. They've got that kind of style of the iconic steel Radical back in the day. But yeah, let us know your thoughts.
Even more metal, but this time something for the kids. So Transition have released a new Bandit. So it's their kids 100mm bike, 20-inch wheels here, and it's designed around the Manitou Junit Sport Fork, which we've seen on bikes quite a few times for the kids now. And we're looking at a 66-degree head angle, 75-degree seat angle. So that is like right on point.
Yeah, modern geometry,
people. You get in 3 colours as well, because the kids can never decide, right? They have to have it personal. And you're looking at $1,399 for that, for a full build, which is pretty good, actually.
Apparently it's orderable, ready in time for Christmas, which is a bold call. I know, yeah. Are you going to get one? Let us know in the comments. Okay, people have been asking in the comments what tools I've been running on my bikes in videos, and yeah, I've been running this, which is the Topeak Ninja Master Plus Toolbox T16. Some of you of a certain vintage will be like, ooh, T16. Is that in reference to a kind of iconic Group B rally car?
Is it?
No, it's because it's got 16 tools. But it's got everything that you need, and it's sealed away in this really cool box. So more and more bikes are coming with a 2-bolt mount, so you can stick it on your top tube and it pivots around. It is sealed. Like, I forgot to remove it when I jet washed my bike, and it stays.
Yeah, you can actually attach these to the bottom of your cage because it's part of the Ninja system, or you can attach it to a little mount that will go on bottle bosses if you've got them elsewhere.
Yeah, like on one of my Pro Pens, it's on the top tube. But yeah, essentially you've got loads and loads of tools. I think everything that you might need. So a 2, 2.5. Yeah, well, I think it's actually 18 because there's like a double up on tools. But technically it's just 16 of the originals, which is kind of cool. Yeah, all the hex wrenches you'd imagine, all the T or Torx tools that you might need, Phillips and flathead screwdrivers.
Shut the front door.
I know. 2 spoke keys, a really good chain tool with like a floating pin, which I get excited about chain tools, but I think that might just be me. I think all you need is some tyre levers and a tube and you're set. This is stuff that I've seen on the internet and I think is awesome. And the first one is Rumwell, which is a Japanese tool brand that makes some, well, niche but ultra cool track stuff. And this is the Grease Dipper.
Oh, it's not for your honey then?
No, but it's inspired by that, so well spotted.
Okay.
So those honey dippers that have got the kind of concentric ringy bits, well, they sort of went, how can we do something similar but with grease? I think it's really good. You're not going to get greasy fingers because some greases are kind of toxic and not that nice. So yeah, you can dip it in and just slowly move it around stuff.
Gotta say, I think a paintbrush is fine. But it is nice.
It's brass, so it's also
I want it in my workshop, even if I don't need it.
It's also going to age as well, so as it oxidises and changes. I mean, it's made in Japan as well, so it's high quality stuff. The next thing, I think this is the coolest collab that I've seen in a long time.
Whoa, my eyes.
I know, isn't it awesome? So this is Run the Jewels, which is the sort of like rap group of, basically Killer Mike. It's a custom clunker from State Bicycles. I think it's just super cool. Killer Mike, rapper, hip-hop legend, and Run the Jewels are very cool, and this is their cool bike. Love it.
Now I feel old.
And finally, there's more.
Okay.
Chris King, hub maker, headset maker, bottom bracket brand. We've got a new colour option.
Get out.
So it is two-tone black punch, which is pink, in a matte. Yeah. So if you want a really, really expensive headset... Because
they don't do the pink anymore, so this is like...
There you go.
No, I do.
So they had a two-tone black and gold. That's starting to being phased out, and now it's punch. Not pink, punch. Quiz time! Always exciting. Last week I was with Ergon in Koblenz, and that city is famous for another bike brand.
Well, yeah, they're almost related, aren't they?
Believe they are.
That is Canyon.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that was the answer to the question, which lots and lots and lots of people got correct. So winners on screen, well done. So yeah, we've got another question. I think it's nerdy, but I think it's important to reach out to that sort of age group that I am, which is very youthful, obviously.
Is nerd an age group?
Yeah, nerd is an age group, 100%. So I mentioned T16, and some of you might have gone, oh yeah, T16, yeah, we like that. I was talking about tools, because it's the Topic one, but there is an iconic, legendary Group B rally car that I was sort of making reference to. What car was I talking about? Potentially there's two answers for this one, but let us know in the comments. You'll get pride points for both.
It's time for an ask question here, and Just Keep Shredding says, why is it easier for me to do very steep descents on my hardtail, whereas on the full sus I'm being jarred back and forwards? Any potential reasons for that?
I guess, I don't know, because there's lots of factors. Yeah, exactly. On a hardtail, if you set your fork up, depending on how badly or well you set it up, it's fine. And it's just going to kind of like move through the compression, it's going to dive down, it's going to rebound, and effectively it's not going to affect the rest of the bike. And it's just going to dive and get steeper. When we've got rear suspension, as your fork rebounds, it can influence your rear suspension. And depending on what your brake setup is on the rear of the bike, you might have brake jack as well. So that means that the rear suspension actually steepens up and almost locks out under braking. So it means that it can actually help move your weight even further forward, which is obviously not necessarily a good thing on steep descents. So it all is relatively complicated, but it's quite easy to fix. I say easy enough, depends on your suspension bike. But in general, I would say that working on setting up your sag will be key. Then setting up your rebound and setting up compression. Because if you've got too fast a rebound, that can, on your fork, that can cause influence to your rear suspension. And likewise, if that's set up too fast, that can influence your fork. If you think about it, your bike and you are balancing between the two wheels and the suspension unit. So if those are out of balance, then they're going to interact with each other not in a good way. So yeah, that's my take.
I think I agree with you. One of the things that took me a really long time to realise with full suspension is that what's more important than setting up one or the other is getting them balanced, getting them not quite perfect for you, but balanced is more important than getting one or the other perfect. So it could be, like you said, starting with sag, that might even just sort that out. Imagine if your forks were too soft and your rear was too hard, you would end up getting in this kind of waterbed scenario anyway on a descent. So yeah, time to reset, watch one of our videos on setting up suspension and see if you can get it feeling more balanced.
Comments! One of my favourite bits. I really like the comments. We're both in there, we're chatting away to people, so if you've got comments comment, because we'll comment back. This is all about last week's show, which is about bike fitting. We're at Ergon, we had a bit of a chat with one of the product managers all about bike fit, and it was quite fun. And our good friend Tim, hello Tim, came back with some advice, because some people were saying, do we need to actually do it or not? Do we really need to get involved with bike fit, or is it just a roadie thing? And Tim's advice was, well, get your mates to take a picture or video you, because then you'll be able to see kind of where your saddle height is relatively quickly. And also you can see how you're pedaling, because actually, if you're pedaling quite inefficiently, you might not realise until you see a photo or a picture, and actually then you can, ride more efficiently, which just makes everything easier. So yeah, nice advice from Tim. He's also saying, get a comfortable saddle. Sage advice there.
One from Shauno218, who says the best way to get the best fit for a saddle, in the same way roadies do, is by measuring your your seat bone width. So what he's saying here is, there's a lot of methods. I've actually done one on how you can find the right saddle for you. You can go to bike shops that have kind of measuring tools where you can sit on them and you measure the bones that you actually sit on, rather than just guessing by the sort of posterior, if you like, whether you have a big or a small saddle. You can actually get rid of that guesswork and measure the sit bones. So,
there we go. Lots of advice there, which was good. Dennis Spike Photography, or Dennis Pike. Anyway, he's loving the transition with the boxers. He's got a Patrol that he really wants to put a 170 MRP dual crown on. Just be mindful that your bike might take a 170 fork, but it might not take a dual crown, because it might, damage it on impact and pull the head tube off, which might not be good, but it might be, so do check.
Definitely not good. So Joe Hwoper?
That works, yeah.
He said the elevated chainstays on that Forestel bike. Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I like an elevated chainstay. I'm all for it. I'm on board. I like the Alpine Stein vibes from old days. Yeah,
there you go. I was kind of less worried about that, the chainstay and the suspension, more worried that it was kind of like EMTB pricing at a mountain bike. But maybe that's just me. Well, thanks for all those comments, and do dive in. We're in the comments, so let's have a chat.
And what are we looking forward to this week? I think I'm doing a video on Saturday, which is all the tools you will ever need in your toolbox. So all those tools that are essential for mountain biking.
Very good. And I think on Sunday we've got how a World Cup winning grip is born.
How was it born? Well, I guess I'll have to watch.
Watch. It's complex, I can tell you that.
Well, thanks for watching, and don't forget to join in the debate about steel or metal and alloy, whether it's making a comeback, and what would make you, carbon lovers, change your mind and buy an alloy bike. Thanks for watching.